above 6.
Yeah, bruh.
Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin, and next to me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
And as always, we're joined by our producer, Richard.
Oh, hello.
Sorry.
Korg?
Rich. That's Richard's seat.
Yeah. My name's Richard.
Is it the same if they have the same name?
I think so.
All right, carry on. Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC comics and movies while fielding questions from listeners like you. Well, my power will astound you. Observe as I detach my limb and transform it into a deadly weapon.
Well, I'll just leave that hanging.
That'll make a lot more sense I think, later on. Yeah.
So we have a review.
Yeah. Woo. 5 stars.
It says, "You had me at Ragman."
Right?
I'm a fan already. By Doctor Who 70.
What, Doctor Who 1 wasn't available?
I thought he only had 14 regenerations or something like that.
However...
Are you telling me on the internet that you couldn't get Doctor Who 1? I don't understand.
What about just Doctor Who?
Yeah, wow, really? I mean...
Or just Doctor Who with 2 O's. Or with a 0.
Who?
You know, like on the internet.
Who?
And then Doctor Who also goes on to say, however, I was not a fan of multiversity either. So, however and either are kind of... You could have gone with either or.
This is a guy that's on your side.
He's on your side. He couldn't have said
this is
more
the one guy,
things.
yeah.
Articulate yourself better if you're going to be on my side. That's all I have to say.
Folks, there is no pleasing him.
Don't alienate your only fan.
Yeah. if you're Colin's only fan, hashtag only fan.
Colin is Doctor Who 70.
Yeah.
I don't have whatever.
I don't know whatever this whole Doctor Who thing is, but
he just forgot the name of our podcast while he was making a name for himself online.
I need to make a name for this.
Doctor Who 70.
I need to make a name for this. Doctor Who 1. Nope, no, that's not going to work. This has got to work. Doctor Who 2.
Oh, jeez.
Let's keep going.
And in news, Scott Snyder to take over Justice League in June.
Every time.
But it also says Justice League No Justice coming May 2018.
Yeah, so... so after all of these events from DC Metal and things like that, there's first going to be a mini-series called No Justice. And in this one, Brainiac shows up and informs everyone that there's a massive sort of reality-altering threat. And basically heroes and villains have to team up in sort of 4 different squads to stop it. So, like, one of the teams is, like, Batman, Lex Luthor, Lobo, Beast Boy. They're weird.
They're called the Justice Squad.
They're weird team-ups. But at any rate, at the end of this, like, No Justice mini-series, like, mini-event, then Scott Snyder, who wrote the whole New 52 Batman run to great acclaim, along with a bunch of Swamp Thing, and he's currently writing DC Metal, he will take over the flagship Justice League title. So, spinning out of the events of that No Justice arc, then he will take over the full Justice League book. So that's what that means.
Snyder reveals evil Batman cut from Dark Knight's Metal.
Right, so part of Dark Knight's Metal is that they've been invaded by these dark multiverse versions of Batman, and each of them is sort of like a blended version with the powers of a different Justice Leaguer. So there's one who, as a boy, right after his parents get shot, he gets a Green Lantern ring and is like consumed by the power and turns evil. One of them like steals the Speed Force from the Flash, and that's on. So, but there were different there were different versions that didn't make it. So there was originally going to be a Batman who had some sort of like magic, like sorcery ability. So to go up against like magical characters like Dr. Fate or Zatanna or something like that. But I think ultimately they cut them because the story's a little tidier if it's sort of like the analogs to the actual like members of the Justice League. So there's like a Batman Cyborg hybrid, and that's the Murder Machine. there's one for Green Lantern, Flash, Wonder Woman, Superman. The Batman one is truly scary. That's the Batman who laughs. It's a Batman where on his Earth he becomes the Joker as well as Batman.
My favorite Dark Knight is where Jamal, an employee of the medieval world amusement park, suffers a blow to the head and wakes up in the 14th century.
Are you describing Martin Lawrence in Black Knight? Surprisingly, not the first time that's come up on this podcast.
Best Dark Knight possible.
Check out our DCEU episode with Chad Smith. I'm pretty sure we talked about Black Knight in that one.
Way to throw it in my face that I've already made this joke once before.
Welcome to the Dr. Recycling podcast.
Well, it's a good thing none of us is supposed to be intentionally funny. Casting call for DC's Titans TV series hints at Solstice.
Yeah, Solstice is kind of like an obscure character. She has some like light-based powers and things like that. But what's interesting about it is I believe...
She's summer solstice or winter solstice?
Well, that's a good question. Probably summer more than anything.
She would be.
But
Her name is Summer Solstice. Just a regular kid from Kansas.
I was going to do something.
I thought you were going to say like, welcome to the stage.
Yeah.
Summer Solstice.
No.
Yeah. So at any rate, in the comics, this character has some sort of background that connects her to Cassandra. Oh God, I'm gonna forget her name, but like the second Wonder Girl, not Donna Troy, but the other Wonder Girl. So it's possible that the introduction of Solstice, if that's who this ends up being,
Forgets podcast.
If that is why they're bringing this character in, is maybe to tie in Wonder Girl and because Wonder Girl's a more traditional member of the Titans, so that might be like a more interesting way to bring that character in. But we still know very little right now. The casting call says like very little dialogue in first appearance, possible like recurring guest star. So don't expect Solstice to be a main character on this show, but might be the way in which they introduce other characters.
We can probably just skip over this one.
Which one?
Just something about Wild Hunt to feature a detective chimp.
You can't just skip Morrison. You can't just skip news when Morrison's involved.
Morrison and Schneider. Wild Hunt
Morrison and
to feature
Schneider.
detective chimp.
Yes. So
none of that sounds like a good news story. I don't know why this isn't news.
So for those who have been enjoying DC Metal, another one of the specials is coming out. It's the Wild Hunt. So the Dark Multiverse Dark Knights are on the move. Detective Chimp is kind of the hero of this particular story, which
this story is going to be bananas.
Nice.
That's good.
It's a really great character. And the last time Detective Chimp was really in the spotlight, like as someone on whom like the world might have depended, was basically in the lead up to Infinite Crisis during Day of Vengeance. It's Detective Chimp who assembles the Shadow Pact and they fight the Spectre. So he has a history of overcoming sort of like the idea that he's a lesser character. But yeah, Morrison and Snyder are co-writing this, so I would expect it to be kind of crazy, kind of fun. I mean, Metal in general has gone very Morrison-esque directions. Like it's about stories in a way. So I think it's a good fit to bring him in with Snyder on this one shot.
Yeah, totally.
DC will publish a lost Superman story by his original creators and hopefully breathe life back into Superman at all.
That wasn't part of the Jesus, you're just so like, you're so ornery.
Because I got too many
Superman's
teeth in my
80,
mouth.
you aren't.
Yeah, I'm still young and relevant.
So
back in news.
In Action Comics 1000, where they'll be publishing a number of different Superman stories because it's the 80th anniversary and it's the 1000th issue of Action Comics. One of those stories will be one that was written by Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel, who are Superman's
awful and racist.
Well, I mean, hopefully not. I would imagine maybe they tweak it a little if it was, but the idea
Superman's going to get these Chinese working back on that railroad.
Well, I think I told you before. I have on DVD like the old Max Fleischer Superman cartoons from the 40s
from Canada. So they made Chinese make the railroads.
Thank you.
Those two writers.
No, they're not both Canadian.
I thought one of them was.
One of them is Canadian.
Okay. So yes, that's what.
Or was born
Chinese
in Canada, but
came from.
At any rate, what I was saying is I have those Max Fleischer Superman cartoons, and the first two start like like fun like 40s like, yeah, oh, it's Superman. He like punches a laser beam and stuff like that. And then the third episode or whatever is called Japotage, and the whole thing quickly turns to like war propaganda. It goes south real quickly. So hopefully this won't. But I think the idea of the story is that Superman has to deal with citizens seeing his example and trying to take the law into their own hands. Like a bunch of people try to start just like vigilanteing or stopping like crimes or things like that. But if we consider the context of it, I don't imagine they'd be like putting on capes or things like that. It'd probably just be people trying to stop muggings or crooks or things like that. So Superman has to like keep people safe, tell them like, no, it's not okay if you do this, but I can do it because I can, like bend steel or whatever.
Superman finds this new kryptonite that turns gay people straight.
There was that one issue.
God, why?
There's a single. Yes. There's a single issue. Oh God, what is it?
Of course, the issue's single.
Supergirl number 70 something, no, 79, and I think they're trying to like make fun of old Silver Age stories and how silly they were. But basically, in this issue, Superman is exposed to a piece of pink kryptonite, which doesn't explicitly make him gay, but he does start complimenting Jimmy's outfit.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
I think it's trying to make fun of silly Silver Age stories, but I think it just is a
Silver Age story.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Surprisingly, I think that's the only time pink kryptonite ever showed up.
Okay, if you have access to this issue, please let the doctor know.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'll buy it from you.
He's got a baby on the way. It doesn't matter. He'll sell everything.
Even the baby.
He'll sell the baby.
Jesus, so dark.
Trade out his firstborn child for that.
That's right. Yeah, it's worth it. Seems like a fair trade.
Yeah, probably. Well, probably. At this rate. Does the Deathstroke vs. Batman comic storyline hint at the DCEU's future?
Pourquoi?
So this one,
quoi?
I think the idea is that the actual Deathstroke series will be briefly retitled Deathstroke vs. Batman for like 6 issues, and then in this arc, I think the idea is that there's some sort of evidence that maybe Damian Wayne's real father is not Bruce, but is Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke. So
your dad's also name is Bruce. Oh, and that's how the issue ends.
Martha.
It's a total Deathstroke.
I'll wait.
Get it.
That silence was brought to you by Dave Rossi, who said that he loved them.
Yeah, those are his favorite part of the whole.
Yeah, but basically this Deathstroke versus Batman arc is going to... My
favorite part of your guys' podcast is when it's quiet.
Yeah, when you guys stop talking.
It's going to call into question the parentage of Damian Wayne. That headline is a little deceptive because I think it's just like wild speculation. Be like, oh, is this what they're going to do in the DCEU? Is that what they're going to do for movies? I'm like, yeah, maybe they could, but we haven't even seen a Damian Wayne yet, so I don't know why you would do that.
It's like Maury Povich is the one writing all the headlines for DCEU.
Yeah, I mean, I think that headline's maybe a little clickbaity. I think the arc just is what it is. I think it has nothing to do with the movies.
Mm. And last but especially least, episode 2 of Black Lightning. I have yet to watch.
I'm just gonna keep putting this in until the show stops being good because I'm watching every episode and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I really liked the second episode. I thought it was amazing.
Didn't watch it. Don't know what's about.
I told you to watch it. It's on Netflix.
I know, but I didn't get to it, and I watched other stuff instead. And then
no excuse. Next episode.
I watched this really great show called Dirty Money about all this like corrupt. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you guys can talk about it.
So, episode 2 of Black Lightning.
You know what I'm gonna say, right? Who was fucking right? Who was right?
About what?
Okay.
About the daughter?
Okay, guys.
Well, no, of course she was going to get powers. Her hands glowed at the end of the first episode.
Well, I don't know.
It's not like you called it. Her hands were glowing.
This is exactly how the Beatles broke up.
Easy, Yoko.
I am not Yoko. George, if anything.
At any rate.
Maybe Ringo.
Yeah, no, the second episode is terrific. I think it took the stuff that was great about the first episode in terms of like the tone and the writing and the sort of message behind the show, and it just kept rolling with it. This is a little bit of a tangent, but halfway through the episode, I realized where I knew, like, you know, the tailor, like his friend that makes his suit. And stuff like that.
he's a big actor. Yeah,
it's James Remar.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as Mxyzptlk, the American boxer in The Quest. That terrible show.
That's where you know him?
That's what I thought halfway through. I was like, holy shit, it's Mxyzptlk. But yeah, it's James Remar.
He's the only part of that show I don't like.
He's
a great actor.
His line readings are a little, like, wooden.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But yeah, so we do see more of the Black Lightning's one daughter is really developing powers. We see that. We see Black Lightning by the end of this episode. In the first episode, he comes, quote unquote, out of retirement just to save his own kids. And in this episode, he's confronted with the reality that, like, that's not good enough.
Yeah, like, everybody else's kids are in danger, and, like,
he's
the one person that can.
Someone should have told Liam Neeson that.
Well, yeah. So basically, by the end of that second
set of skills.
By the end of that second episode, he has committed himself to coming back as Black Lightning, like, in full.
Black Lightning's back.
I loved it. It's
so good. It is really.
I don't want to spoil it for people because it's only just come out, but, like, this is a really, really strong show.
That costume is still terrible.
I don't love it.
No, it's really not good. And
I like him though.
Yeah,
he's. I can look past it because he's
I like
good.
him better as just him
as Jefferson Pierce,
like, rather than Black Lightning. I find that, like, his dynamic with that the police chief or whatever was really, really good, and you get a little bit more of, like,
because they're like buds
as
civilians, but that police chief does not like Black Lightning.
So there was that scene when they crash through the room and there's that look, and I'm like, does he know? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's really good.
No, it's terrific. We get to see Tobias Whale's kind of evil a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It's building, right? Tobias Whale, in many ways, was based on the Kingpin from Marvel Comics. So if you see those, like, similarities, that's where they come from.
It's an intentional parallel.
They're slowly building him up. But no, I mean, like, I'm super impressed with this show. Again, like we said, considering it's not one of those, like, gritty Netflix things where you could do anything on it. It's a really, like, dark, meaningful, like a heart-wrenching kind of.
I was not expecting that shooting. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I mean, this show,
I was just like, they're going for it. Like, this is the farthest. Like, CW is stretching as far as they possibly can.
I love it. They're not pulling punches. It's really
they're pulling triggers.
Yeah,
well,
legit.
In that episode, there's a lot of trigger pulling, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I was
so a lot of shootings in that episode.
I'll
wait. Which shooting did you not see coming? The first one or the second, like, sad one?
The sad one.
See, I figured that was going to happen in the episode. I did not see the first one.
No, really? Eh?
Yeah.
I kind of expected that one. I did not expect the other. Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah. I didn't. Okay, I'll be honest. I didn't expect either of them. Yeah. But the first one didn't end up being as dramatic as the second one.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. But maybe that's why it surprised me more, because it was just like there.
Oh,
yeah.
But then I was kind of like, were powers going to come out at that point? Like that first one, I was like, oh shoot, and I'm like, oh, is she gonna? And then she didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've seen the episode, you know what we're talking about. If not, you're thoroughly confused. But it's 2 episodes in. Go watch it.
It's.
You have no excuse. It's on Netflix. Go watch it.
That was very pointed. I don't appreciate that.
You have no excuse.
I have other things going on,
Colin.
I've got shit to do.
Do you?
Sometimes. I don't know.
I feel like you've got some extra time on your hands right now.
Like a little bit, not a lot. Like, I'm busy with stuff.
Yeah.
Like doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you get stuff going on.
Like, check the mail.
Yeah, you gonna get some stuff there. You gonna
I do. Yeah, I do stuff.
Yeah, you gonna go to work. Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, you gonna go to your job.
Yeah.
You got a job that you go to. You got a job every day. 24/7. 40 hours a week. That's how I say now.
Okay. This really is the Dr. Mxyzptlk podcast.
Is that what you know? You don't have a job, do you?
There we go. All right. So, you failed at your job yet again, because the doctor's pulls just doesn't have a good ring to it.
Did you see what I fucking wrote over top of it, though?
I see that. But I feel like we need a new name for this, like the doctor's pick of the week, or like.
But it's not one. It's his pulls, and that's just what they're called.
What about picks?
They're called pulls.
They're called pulls.
Oh, that's just silly.
That's just the term.
Are you a stripper now?
Not poles.
Is that what you are? Are you a stripper?
Cue up, cue up Black Velvet, no.
Velvet on a cold summer's night. Black Velvet.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So
here at the Dr. DC podcast, we commit.
So
if nothing else,
God damn
we
it.
continue doing something terrible, whether you like it or not.
My pulls this past week were actually like I only got a couple of books this past week.
Say what?
It's kind of lopsided, but the one we're approaching the end of this arc of Aquaman. Right now, the story is called "The Crown Comes Down." Basically, for the last
the crown comes.
The last several issues have been about. Okay, I'll wait.
You don't usually.
I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, no.
Selfish.
We've
got things to say too. God damn it.
Are they about DC?
Not really.
Yeah.
So
Phil, this is your point on
the last several issues. Basically, Aquaman has been deposed as king of Atlantis. Most people think he's dead, but he's been kind of like Batmaning in like the lower trides of Atlantis, and
yes, I remember you saying.
And now he's basically about to lead this rebellion. He's trying to get like King Shark and some of these other characters on side to depose the Tyrant King Coram Wrath. But Aquaman doesn't want the throne back. He just doesn't want Wrath to be the king. But basically, there are other sort of political machinations at work, and it's
want it, but I just don't want you to have it.
Well, but basically, to him, it's being deposed has proven that the Atlanteans don't want him, and he doesn't want to deal with any anymore. He just wants to be a hero with the Justice League now, live on land with Mira. But basically, these other sort of political factions who also want Coram Wrath out want to put Mira on the throne. So just skip Arthur altogether and go straight to her and put her on the throne. And slight like spoilers, there's a Mira miniseries like coming out that's called Mira Queen of Atlantis. So I bet it happens.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Who's the queenest of them all?
I didn't want to like that.
Me!
That was really good. But yeah, so I'm reading that one, and then the other one is, we talked a little bit about it last week, maybe. It's Justice League. We're partway through this arc where basically it's called The People versus the Justice League, where basically like the public has kind of turned on the Justice League because Batman makes an error on some mission.
Got turned on by the Justice League?
No, they have turned on the Justice League.
All of them are turned on.
The public.
Oh,
the public's turned on?
Jesus Christ.
No, they turned on the Justice League.
Oh, the public turned on the Justice League?
Yeah, they're all turned on by the public.
Wow. Was it just like imagery or like was there touching
I
involved?
don't know. I wasn't there.
I'm into it.
So in the middle of this mission, Batman makes a mistake and it results in a civilian getting killed.
Oh God, no! Of course that.
So there's all of this like kind of fallout about like Justice League accountability. Someone is masquerading as Batman and committing murders now. So it's all this like it's the idea that the Justice League is now battling like whether or not the public even wants them to exist. And it's been a really interesting arc. It's the first arc with Christopher Priest as the writer, and it's been great so far. A real like step up from the previous creative team on the book. So yeah, I mean we're only like halfway through this arc, so it's still developing, but I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. But that was it. It was just those two that I got last week. Like I said, it was a real like lopsided. I got like 8 books the week before.
Do they? Is it just like because of the way that they're being shipped, or do not all the books release every week?
No, they don't all release every week. Some of them are every 2 weeks. Some of them are monthlies.
Because I always just buy trade, so I never.
Well, and the thing too is that the ones that come out every other week, they don't all come out on the same week necessarily. Like each week has a different set of books that comes out. It just so happens that this week, of the ones that I'm actually picking up and buying, it was just those two. But yeah.
Oh, who'd thunk it?
Yeah, there you go.
Did you pick up like a newspaper or?
Do you think I only read comic books? Did you pick up a newspaper?
I did, yeah. Like
an actual physical newspaper?
Yeah.
Are you 80?
I'm in one of the newspapers this week.
You are, that's right. You are in the newspaper.
So that's kind of cool.
So I picked it up.
Oh.
See our good friend Richard.
I just read the article online.
Newspaper. See, and this is why newspapers are dying.
It's because I'm not as good friends with Richard.
So what's the theme this week?
Bottom of the barrel.
Oh, wow, just like this podcast.
Oh, wow.
We did it.
Just like you listeners, scraping the bottom of the barrel.
You're like, what can I listen to? What's at the bottom of the iTunes chart?
I know what's top 10, but what's the bottom 10?
What's the bottom 10?
What's the opposite of news and noteworthy?
Yeah.
Like old and forgettable?
I like all these relevant things, but what about completely irrelevant to my interests?
Yeah. So at any rate, that's us. And this week, it's doubly us because we're going to talk about characters who are either just like lousy, lame characters, or they have bad powers, or maybe they didn't show up all that often in comic books.
Just like useless characters. Like, what's the Colin Close of the DZU?
Oh, if only everyone at home could see that face.
No, then they'd be turned on as well. He's useless, but he's hot.
That's true. All right, shall we?
Shall we what?
Let's go to Twitter.
Oh, I thought I had to do some kind of
Paul Schultz says, Snapper Carr seems to appear with the JLA for a while and continues well beyond his Best Buy date. He even gets powers at one point. What's your opinion of him? And has the DC done this to others?
I have talked about Snapper Carr very briefly in the past, and that was to say that I hate him. Snapper Carr is a terrible character. He shows up for the first time in Brave and the Bold, number 28, and he's basically the Justice League sidekick, although I think in the comic they refer to him as their mascot. But basically he's like a beatnik who snaps, and he inadvertently saves the day, and he just becomes
he's like about him
honorary.
Before, yeah.
He's an honorary member of the Justice League. He's fucking
kind
useless.
Of he's like the Captain America of DC.
Except Captain America can do things.
Yeah, except for be
it's
like
like
layman from the
Todd.
50s.
Well, no, but like
excuse me.
Why? You know when you say his name, you summon him.
Oh, that's right.
I thought you had to say it 3 times.
No, that's Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I'm here forever.
Oh, fuck.
Todd, I don't know if you saw, but in the other room,
yeah?
there's a couple of things that are not alphabetized.
Or
Are they in folders?
I don't know, but
they're
you
not
better
in
get at
folders.
it.
Okay,
They're not folded.
Never do that again. So I'll be fucking
So
gone.
sorry. I thought it was a 3-time
Oh my god,
thing.
that diarrhea was so bad. What happened?
Stop leaving.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, my stomach.
So at any rate, Snapper Carr is.
IBS or something?
Oh my god, does that mean I can read minds?
Yeah, that's ESP, IBS. Snapper Carr to me is completely useless. He's just like a powerless, like clumsy schmuck that pals around with the Justice League. Later in the comics, like Paul said, he was exposed to the same like metagene bomb during the Invasion arc that gave a lot of different people powers, and he got like a teleportation ability or something, which I think he lost eventually. He got his hands cut off or something, and then he couldn't teleport. I guess he needed his hands for teleportation.
Classic lost his hands problems.
But yeah, Snapper Carr is like, yeah, he was just kind of like a pally sidekick that they didn't know what to do with, and eventually got powers. The only other kind of good example of that is one that I've talked about before, which is Jimmy Olsen, who's not a useless character. He's like Superman's pal. He's a stable.
Yeah, he's got the power of friendship.
Well, no, but he's like a stable part of the Superman mythos. You don't get rid of Jimmy Olsen. You don't say shoot him in the head in the desert.
I mean,
Why not?
That's a rare gripe with Batman v Superman that I just threw out there. But you don't just shoot him in the head in the fucking desert.
Yeah.
Well, is there an opportunity to?
Well, yeah, they took it in Batman v Superman.
Then yeah, you shoot a guy in the head in the desert.
Jesus, Colin, come on.
It is to hide a guy in the desert?
Yeah, because you remember all the parts of the rest of the movie where you missed him? Oh, wait, no, you don't.
Well, I mean, that's
I
fair.
haven't seen the movie.
That's fair. But at any rate, at one point, I think around Final Crisis, or in the countdown to Final Crisis, Jimmy Olsen gets manipulated by Darkseid and becomes like the repository for all of the powers of like fallen new gods. And so the powers manifest like one at a time or in different circumstances, but it's always like based on the situation he's in. And so he becomes, what did he call himself? Action Man. But basically he never knows what power he's going to get or like precisely when, but it would always kick in right when he needed it. And that's really the only like approximation of the Snapper Carr thing, where it's like it's a non-powered sidekicky like companion character that they just arbitrarily give some powers to for, you know, whatever reason. But yeah, I think that's probably all I have to say on that, other than Snapper Carr sucks.
Okay. Colin?
You have one job.
I know, but I thought I had a different job that I had to do, so I got distracted. I am Grant Richter.
No,
Asks,
you're not. Grant Richter's Grant Richter.
You're Grant Richter.
I am Grant Richter.
I'm Grant Richter. Martha. This is kind of like I am the walrus right now.
Cuckoo-ca-choo.
Yeah, that one. That part. Especially that part. The guy who melted down the helmet of Dr. Fate and made himself into a horrid embarrassment in the 90s, then died in an ignoble death in JSA.
Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate.
An ignoble death, yeah.
Dr. Fate. Oh, come on, rock me, Dr. Fate.
Dr. Zayas? Yeah, so we've talked about this guy before, too, but in the context of his terrible costume.
Yes.
So Jared Stevens, in the 90s, he gets the helmet of fate and melts it down. He has like an Ankh tattoo on his face, and he makes the helmet into like daggers and stupid shit like that. He's got like this crazy 90s look, and it was supposed to be this like edgy, like death metal version of Dr. Fate.
Grunge. It's grunge.
Oh, like
It's kind of grungy,
like
yeah.
what's his face from the Ninja Turtles with the hockey stick? The helmet.
He almost has Casey Jones hair.
Casey Jones.
He almost has Casey Jones hair.
Cool.
But yeah, he was.
When I was a little kid, I wanted to grow up and be Casey Jones.
Yeah.
Casey Jones, he got the chicks.
And he played hockey.
And he played hockey.
Yeah.
Well, he was a goalie. It's not really playing hockey. He was there.
Was he a goalie, or did he just wear the mask?
He had a goalie stick also. So
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Look at that lens.
Jacques.
No, it's Jacques. Just, there's no anything else after the S. It's not pronounced. It's just Jacques.
Doctor?
Yeah. So yeah, Jared Stevens, he became Fate for a little bit, and basically it's kind of a forgettable chapter in the Dr. Fate mythology. He lost that sort of like Dr. Fate is almost meant to be like a little disconnected. He's channeling like the forces of like order and the magics of the universe and things like that. So he's not meant to just be like a like angsty man. Like, so Jared Stevens.
I'm sorry, what do you think angst sounds like exactly? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So at any rate, like he's just kind of like he does get killed eventually. I think that version of him, Fate, only exists now on, I think it's Earth 13. Earth 13 is like the magic, like dark magic kind of parallel Earth.
Because it's 13.
Exactly.
Spooky.
So it's like Constantine, Swamp Thing, Etrigan the super demon. He's like a cross between Etrigan and Superman put together.
Of course.
Fate is on that Earth. There's a version of the Enchantress and a bunch of characters. I think that's the only place where Jared Stevens' Fate is actually still part of the continuity. I think otherwise it's kind of been written out, forgotten, because it's sort of he lost the connection to that sort of like higher plane. Like he wasn't as wise. He wasn't as he wasn't as powerful. I don't think he was even like on the same sort of like plane of magical abilities as previous or later Doctor's Fate. But
he went to Jared.
What?
Only Jared.
I don't know what that means.
Exactly.
Jeweler commercial?
Is Jared a jeweler?
Jared's, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Jared's jeweler commercial.
Sorry.
Our hip-hop careers haven't launched in quite the same way that yours has.
Until now.
Nice.
Sorry for.
So, Stump Chunkman has a little question.
Oh,
Stump.
chunky stump.
Chunk Stump?
Stump a chunkman.
These jingles are getting worse.
Is he?
Your beatbox career
is
killed
he-
us.
Is
We're
he
dead now.
Jewish? Chunkman.
Oh my god, what?
What?
Chunkman.
Having man at the end, that's not like a...
Yeah.
No.
I don't think it is.
Yeah. Trust me. As a Jew, trust
Are we
me.
allowed to say stuff like this?
I can say it. I'm allowed to.
It does feel like it's a little edgy.
My great-grandfather didn't escape Germany so that
Oh,
I couldn't
God.
make fun of the Jewish people.
Jesus.
I'm pretty sure that's...
I hope this is a whole bit we can cut out of this.
Oh, yeah, don't worry.
Wait, hold on.
I'll get right on
Hold
that.
on, hold on. Is it my turn? Edit point.
Nice.
Fuck you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Sorry. So what does Stump Chunkman ask?
Well, despite his lineage, he wants to know about Bat-Mite. Is kind of obscure. What's his story?
Yeah. Do you remember me bringing up a character called Mr. Come on. Called Mr. Mxyzptlk?
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Mxyzptlk is a fifth dimensional imp with like reality altering powers. He can do almost anything at all.
Yeah. Didn't he become Superman for a little bit?
He's done all sorts of crap. But basically Bat-Mite is also a fifth dimensional imp, but instead of being obsessed with Superman and being like slightly malicious the way Mxyzptlk is, Bat-Mite loves Batman and wants to be his sidekick. So every once in a while he'll show up and he'll try and help Batman out, but invariably every time he tries to help him by like he loves watching Batman beat up bad guys, so he thinks like, I want to watch him beat up a ton of bad guys, and he like releases all the prisoners from Arkham or something, and then Batman has to like work way harder. He's like making things worse for Batman, but he's doing it because he's like such an admirer, because he really likes Batman. So Bat-Mite is he has all the same powers as Mr. Mxyzptlk. He's just as dangerous, but because he's not like mean-spirited, he's a little more of like a silly side character. He's not considered a villain of Batman because he actually just wants to help him out. But funny enough, I mean, like Bat-Mite had his own miniseries. Bat-Mite has shown up like actually quite a bit since the Silver Age. He's not a character you see all the time, but he's in there enough. He's just kind of like a silly, wacky, because he's like an imp. He's short, kind of cartoony looking, like giant sort of eyes and stuff like that. But
kind of like a mite, for example.
Yeah, like a Bat-Mite.
Like a mite that a batty.
Yeah.
Little batty, that little
There was a brief story where they tried to imply that he was a figment of Batman's imagination.
Was it a Calvin Klein brief? Sorry.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That he was like a figment of Batman's imagination. It was a Morrison story where he tried to basically explain that the fifth dimension was like the dimension of imagination.
Classic Morrison.
That's in a slightly weird arc, but either way, the Bat-Mite is from the fifth dimension, whether that's an actual place or whether that's imagination. He's from the same race of like omnipotent imps as Mr. Mxyzptlk, but he's not mean. He wants to do good, and he loves Batman, but he doesn't always show it the right way.
It's a very toxic relationship from the sounds of it.
Well, I mean, like Batman's not great with people like Batman's not great with people like getting close to him anyway, let alone someone who's like constantly making his life harder. So
Batman's not good with people?
Yeah, I know. Big surprise. Spoilers.
So we're going to go over to Facebook.
To the face and the book. Go to Facebook.
Can't tell that's Fat Albert or if that's...
Hey,
why would you let him do that?
It's a free country.
My creator never did anything wrong.
Have you learned nothing? Sorry, what did you just say?
You can't say that. Can't say that at all. That's so bad.
Can we just pick it up as if he didn't say that?
Yeah, let's keep doing that.
You gotta do it
on Facebook.
Please edit it.
Our friend Josh Gill says,
Gotta make it worth my
obscure,
while.
Baby Wildebeest, useless? Red Bee, lamest? Color Kid. What? This is a jingle jangle of question marks and words.
Well, yeah, it's because you, in addition to like not listening to episodes of our own podcast, you also didn't see the post that I put up where I basically said like we're looking for obscure, useless or
lamest.
Oh, did you miss how I shared that post on my Facebook?
Oh,
today?
he did do that.
Really?
So he just forgot.
Okay, so you're
I
just
don't pay attention.
forgetful.
I just share whatever.
Yeah.
I'm all about clickbait, guys. Clickbait,
Good to know.
guys. Clickbait.
So, obscure, baby wildebeest. Yeah. So basically, there's so this character there's a sort
Wait,
of
Josh,
cult.
are you answering your own questions? Is this even a question, or are you just telling it?
A lot of these aren't technically questions, but I'll talk about them.
Oh.
Wildebeest baby. Da-na-na-da-da-da-da-da.
So baby wildebeest is created by this like basically like a wildebeest cult where they channel all of these like spirits into this creature, and baby wildebeest is sort of like
offspring of this cult.
Yeah, basically,
okay.
effectively, but becomes kind of associated with the Titans because there's a character called Pantha who has some like animal powers and things like that. And baby wildebeest kind of views Pantha as its mother. She isn't, but they basically have that kind of relationship. Like she doesn't want anything to do with baby wildebeest, and baby wildebeest.
So she's a dog and he's the bird.
What?
That story. Are you my mommy?
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Classic literature. You should know about this stuff. You're gonna be a dad soon.
Thank you.
Just trying to help.
So anyway, that's
Dr. Dad.
That's baby wildebeest. But very tragically, both Pantha and baby wildebeest get killed by Superboy Prime during Infinite Crisis. Pantha gets her head punched off, and then baby wildebeest gets cut in half by heat vision.
Wait, Superman did this?
Superboy Prime. He's an alternate universe Superboy who's crazy powerful and goes insane.
Sounds like it.
That's baby wildebeest in a very short nutshell.
Why is it called baby wildebeest?
Because it's like the spawn of this wildebeest cult. They like pool their like magics or whatever to like make this thing.
But they're a cult of like a weird cow thing from Africa? I don't understand.
Yeah, essentially. There are multiple like wildebeest.
Wildebeests?
I guess, yeah. And
no, it's like moose. Wildebeest.
Oh, okay.
So in the cult,
look at all the wildebeest.
The cult, like there are lots of different people who are the wildebeest, but like then when they put all of this magic together and create this new thing, like that's the baby wildebeest. It's their like child in a way.
We are wildebeest,
effectively. Yeah.
It's a murder of wildebeest.
So the next thing
go wildebeest mode. I think you're pointing at the next question.
No. I'm just for my own purposes. So, useless. The Red Bee. The Red Bee is like a Golden Age character that doesn't show up a ton, but basically he was just like a guy who I think he didn't have powers, but he had like a swarm of bees. He had a bee named
impeccable timing though.
He had a bee named Michael that lived in his belt.
That's a good bee name.
And he had like a gun called like a stinger gun.
My name's Michael.
And he would just,
I'm a bee.
And he would just fight crime.
Watch it.
I'm not joking.
I'm
positive that bee's name was Michael.
Ooh, I don't want to sting you. Might hurt myself.
What about Wildebeest? Like William?
DC Execs.
Wildebeest.
Yeah, I like that.
Wildebeest.
We know you're listening.
Get in touch.
He's clearly from New Zealand.
There's a different version of the...
My name's Wildebeest.
So that old version of the Red Bee has actually passed into public domain because it was used so infrequently.
Oh, watch it. I'm going to sting you.
But there's a new version of the Red Bee that's meant to be like the great niece of the original one. And she actually has some like...
Was it Michael the Bee or...
No. She's human. And she's got some actual like pheromone power. She has some actual like superpowers. The original Red Bee was just a guy with a pet bee named Michael. The new one has like some powers.
That owner sounds like a real normal guy.
Yeah, right?
Like, oh wow, this is my... Like most people are like, oh, this is my dog.
I'm trying to think of his name. I think his name was
Sparky.
Richard Raleigh, I think is the original Red Bee.
I like that name. That's a good name.
It is a good name. Wasted on such a terrible character.
Yeah, it's
just like our
and then
my name's Will. I don't understand.
The lamest, Color Kid. Color Kid is a member of the Legion of Superheroes. Well, he's a member.
We had one of those in my grade school.
He was a member of. Come on.
Terrible. This is just like falling off.
He was a member.
I have to re-record this whole damn thing now.
It's not my fault. He's a member of the Legion of Substitute Heroes, but then he does eventually become a member of the Legion. But basically, Color Kid's power is that he can change the color of anything. Not that he can change colors. He can change, like, if this desk is red, he could make it blue.
Ooh, cool power.
Well, exactly. It's kind of a lame power. He can only just change the colors of things.
Could have sworn that this was blue a minute ago.
Color Kid!
just gaslights everyone. Be like, the wall is clearly white. Looks back, it's green. It's like, I don't know, it's been green the whole time I've lived here. What are you talking about?
Every game is the long con, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's very limited circumstances in which that power is useful. Like,
just slight distractions, like, oh, that's weird. There, I see.
It would be useful against, say, Green Lanterns if they still had, like, the weakness to yellow. Except that in the 30th and 31st centuries, there is no Green Lantern Corps anymore. So it's not even useful for that. It's just, he can just change the colors of things. I think he has some like light projection abilities and things like that too, but effectively his powers are pretty useless.
Wow. Hey, Colin.
Hey.
Dr. DC will be right back after this quick break.
Hey guys, it's Colin from the Dr. DC podcast. Last week on Twitter, unfortunately, I got beat out or tied with Ukrainian Popeye, and I had to play potato, lemon, fish with him, which was a terrible disaster. We ended up playing rock, paper, internet, which was even worse. So he got to do the advertisement for Great Lakes Grooming, which was terrifying. And I feel so bad for that company that they have to put up with our bullshit sometimes. But this week, I'll just tell you about the products that they have and how much they mean to us, all three of us, the guys who are actually on the show. For myself, I use the beard oil and the beard balm. They both work great for creating a healthy beard and locking in all those nutrients and helping me grow a strong, thick beard, which is really important for me in the wintertime because I don't wear a scarf. And it's really, really awesome to have a good, strong beard that doesn't get all brittle and break off. I also use the pine tar soap at home in the shower. It's got a great smell to it, and it's really nice on my skin as well. We are very, very proud to be sponsored by the Great Lakes Grooming Company here at the Dr. DC podcast. And they are a product that is meant to be easy and ready to use, rain or shine. All their products are purposefully designed and environmentally responsible, but handmade in Canada and ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. And for lucky listeners, such as yourselves, you can get 10% off on Great Lakes Grooming products, regularly priced products, by going to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and using our special promo code that they've given us, Dr. DC Podcast. So that's the Great Lakes Grooming Company, greatlakesgrooming.com, and the promo code is DRDC Podcast. And now on to the show.
Great job!
Ah, shit, get out of here.
Hey, back to the show.
Hey, we're back.
Yes,
Yeah.
Facebook is done.
That
We're going to
wasn't
go
fucking
over to
painful.
Yeah,
emails.
thanks everyone for sticking with us.
Oh, man.
So where are we going?
We're going to emails.
Check the email.
Nice. I actually kind of like that one.
Yeah,
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's like a ticker.
And it's relatively consistent, which
Yeah, that's
I prize very highly.
That's because it's also recycled.
Yeah. Let's just stick to what we're good at.
So Mike asks, I know Tar Pit is one of Flash's bad guys, but isn't he just a ripoff of Clayface?
That's what I call my butthole.
Jesus.
A ripoff of Clayface?
No, tar pit.
Gross. Anything special about him, or is he just a worse Clayface?
Right. So before I answer whether or not he's a worse version, we'll just talk about,
Well, let's Tarantino it a little bit.
let's talk about Tar Pit. So
Okay, fine.
Tar Pit is in some ways very similar to Clayface. He's like a living pile of molten kind of tar.
It sure is.
He can change shape, and he can throw like hot tar and cause fires and things like that.
Good.
So in some ways, he is very similar to Clayface. He's not like a full like shapeshifter.
Isn't
Like
Tar Pit how Clayface happened?
no,
Yeah, no, I got it.
no.
No.
In some ways, he's similar to Clayface, but he's not like a full shapeshifter. Like when Clayface changes form, he can like mimic clothes and things like that. But Tar Pit always looks like
A
tar.
Pit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a weirder aspect to Tar Pit than just being like a Clayface knockoff and being like a sentient pile of tar.
He's full of dinosaurs?
No, but he should be. In his origin, his actual superpower was that he could transplant his consciousness into inanimate objects.
That's a very weird skill.
For example, he could like put his consciousness into a like fire extinguisher, and then he could control the fire extinguisher and set it off.
Wouldn't he just put his consciousness into a regular person?
Well,
and
no, it was only inanimate objects.
And then just
Oh.
But here's the
grab
best
fire extinguisher and just use it.
here's the best bit.
How hard is it to use a fire extinguisher?
When he would do that, then his like human body would just like slump to the ground because there was like nothing in it. His consciousness was transferred.
It was just Tar anyways, wasn't it, mostly?
No.
Old
No,
Tarhead.
this is his origin. He was a person. He was a human.
Oh.
What happened, though, is he eventually transferred his consciousness into a pit of tar,
Why?
and it got stuck there, and his body just got, like, left.
Seriously?
His original superpower was not tar. It was, like,
What?
consciousness transference, and then he got
That's so
stuck.
weird.
He
Hold on,
got stuck
hold
as a
on.
tar pit.
So this guy was so smart.
No, he wasn't smart.
Okay, so this guy was so dumb
Yep, there we go.
That's closer.
that he... What a waste.
That's such like a terrible thing to happen.
To make that origin story even weirder, in his like first appearance, like the first time in the comic book that Tar Pit showed up, his like crime was he tried to steal the Stanley Cup.
What?
Yeah,
That's-
completely unrelated, like to anything.
What year was that? Oh,
Ooh, I just think the Canucks should have won.
I think it was the 90s. I feel like Tar
94
Pit.
maybe?
Tar Pit was definitely the 90s. Actually, possibly even later, but I think it was the 90s. But yeah, like the
Gordie
thing,
Howe was robbed, you know?
the thing that's so lame about Tar Pit is that he actually had a decent power. And then somehow...
They just were like, you know what would be better? Let's just keep him in one place.
I just think it's hilarious that he had a... like he
Make
had,
sure you can't go anywhere too quickly.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that there's something about like the quote-unquote like the physical properties of tar, that it's like sticky and viscous, and somehow that trapped his consciousness. Like he was like, oh shit, I'm stuck. But like
Sticky and viscous, you say.
yeah, I'm trying to
was just dripping.
I'm trying to move past it as soon as I said it.
Yeah. Salty tasting, too. It's weird.
But yeah, so I mean, like, in a way, Tar Pit is a knockoff of Clayface. His powers aren't as useful as Clayface's. He's not as interesting a character as Clayface in terms of like his own psychology and things like that. Like Clayface is this tragic kind of character. He's like an actor that this horrible thing happens to, and it ruins his life, and it turns him into a monster, and he's trying to recuperate. Tar Pit doesn't really have that. He's just like a guy that started with an okay power, got stuck in a shitty form, and then that's it.
I would love to know the story behind the person who created that and where their mindset was.
I mean,
guys,
it's hilarious.
It's
in its
Colin
own way.
from the Dr. DC podcast. This is a public service announcement. Earlier, we were talking about a tar pit, and Richard referred to it as kind of salty tasting.
Why bring
find
it up
yourself
again?
in the need of tasting a tar pit, do yourself a favor and don't, because it's probably going to kill you.
Back
to the Dr. DC podcast.
What do you think I was talking about?
Well, let's just move past it. Stop doubling back. You're the worst co-host.
I'm the worst.
Hi, Richard here.
He's technically the producer.
Producer Richard here. A few moments ago, Colin just interrupted and was talking about how you shouldn't taste the tar pit. What I was actually talking about was cum. Much like Tom. Much like Tom. It was sticky and viscous.
Please, let's cut that out, maybe.
Its salty taste, though, should be encouraged by all.
Jesus Christ.
I really hope that 8-year-old kids, for example, aren't listening to
So
this.
now, for example, let's pick it up as if that didn't just happen.
We both know he's not going to edit that out.
I really want him to, though.
He's
I
not
know
going
it sounds
to.
like I'm joking.
He's not going to.
See, the key is that you just take a bunch of terrible things and you go, I can only delete so many.
Just re-record it.
We gotta just get some stuff and we'll just record this at your place.
All right, let's go.
Changing
Your
password
place,
to the
or-
lips and can.
Paul Vanier asks, the Legion abounds with lame powers. Bouncing boy, color kid, duo damsel. Infectious lass is pretty bad if she can't control who or what someone is infected with. Matter eater lad. Seriously, how often can you get close enough to something to eat it? Stone boy? He can turn himself into a block of stone? Whoop-de-doo. I love the fact that Paul Vanier wrote out the words whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone should be encouraged. I mean,
That should be a
Yeah.
superhero. Paul Vanier, your new superhero is called Whoop-de-Doo, and you go around sarcastically bashing lame superheroes.
That feels like
Welcome to the
that feels
JS
like a
day.
Dial H hero. Yeah, that would work.
classic Vanier.
Yeah, so I mean he's right. The Legion of superheroes and the Legion of substitute heroes are rife with lamos, for lack of a better word. So some of the ones that he brings up, let's talk about them. So Bouncing Boy, actually, of this list that he's provided us, Bouncing Boy is probably among the more useful. he drinks this like solution that basically like polymerizes his cells, and so he can turn into like a person-sized bouncing ball. But it makes him like a certain level of like invulnerable. Like in a way, he can like barrel into like a crowd of villains and knock them all out, or something. Like he's still a little useful. It's a silly power, and he gets it in a silly way, but he still comes in handy. That's why he's a member of the actual Legion. He's not a sub. Color Kid, we talked about, substitute hero. Duo Damsel, she could make like a duplicate of herself, but she was only called Duo Damsel after an unfortunate incident, because she used to be Triplicate Girl, and then one of them was killed.
God.
She could make two like replicas of herself, and then one of them was killed, so she had to change her name from Triplicate Girl to Duo Damsel. And when you
Triplicate City,
I mean, but that was her only power, was to replicate herself. But she couldn't just keep doing it. She's not like Multiplex, who can make infinite versions.
Think about this.
Multiplex.
What happens if the original gets killed, though?
Well, I think...
Does the copy die too?
No. The other one would keep living. But you have to ask the question, if she can only make one other one, and then that one gets killed, then she's literally bringing nothing to the team.
Yeah, no, then
She's just one girl.
Damsel.
Just solo Sally.
Just girl.
Yeah, so Duo Damsel's power is only useful in so much as, do you need multiple versions of a person with no powers? And then Infectious Lass, substitute hero, but she tried out for the Legion of Superheroes, and she comes from an alien race that basically are like carriers for every like bacteria and type of disease. But Infectious Lass can't control either when she is infectious or to what degree. So when she goes to like audition and demonstrate her powers, she makes like actual like legionnaires very violently ill. Like almost to the point of like killing them. So she's like a crazy liability when she goes to try and like save the day, and that civilians get sick and start like hurling up like their guts and stuff like that, because she is just like walking contagion basically. So that's another, like, that's not a great power.
They could have called her the Cajun Contagion.
If she was from Louisiana, they could have.
Right.
Yeah.
Does somebody talk about Louisiana?
Grover.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. I wasn't sure if I was going to go Dr. Savannah or
I was
Creepy
hoping
Cajun.
you would.
You, Dr. Savannah is more Georgia, though.
I know, and then that's made me realize I should stop. If anything, I want to be accurate.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to offend anybody.
Yeah,
So then the next one he mentions is Matter Eater Lad. We've talked about him before. He comes from a planet called Bismol, and on that world, their species has evolved to be able to consume any material, which is useful in that, you know, if you put him in prison, it's easy for him to get out. But Paul brings up a good point. It's like, how often can you get close enough to someone to make that power useful? Like, if you imagine that that's his only power, which it is, he's not invulnerable or anything, and someone's got a gun.
Someone's got a gun.
Unless he's the one sneaking up on them. Like, if he's the one being held at gunpoint, what are the odds that he's going to get close enough to eat the gun?
Usually the bad guys in the movies put the gun in the person's mouth, don't they?
That would be useful,
Okay.
because then they'd fire it and he would just
Eat it.
That would be useful.
Eat it.
But again, that's a super specific thing. If they don't put that gun in his mouth,
then he will eat it.
Show them how much he wants to eat that gun.
yeah. Matter Eater Lad,
This isn't a metaphor.
he like that power.
I'm telling you, son.
That power actually got him admission into the full Legion. He's an actual Legionnaire.
Eat it.
He eventually goes insane, though, because he, to save the day, has to consume this thing called the Miracle Machine. The Miracle Machine is this very dangerous artifact that can turn, like, thought into reality.
Why does it sound like such a good thing?
Well, it can be used for good, but imagine it in the hands of someone who doesn't want to use it for that. But it has such kind of powerful energies inside it to be able to do such a thing that when he eats the Miracle Machine, it drives him insane. So he can do it, but his body kind of can't take the energies, and it like fries his mind, which is a little bit tragic. But that it ultimately proves how useful that power was, because he was the one who saved the day. What was the other one he said? Stone Boy. Stone Boy could turn himself.
Hey man, my name's Stone Boy.
Yeah, he could turn.
Hey buddy.
His power was that he could turn himself to stone.
Are you stoned?
Oh my god, I'm so stoned right now.
Be a whole lot cooler if you were.
But he couldn't turn himself to stone in like for those who have seen Thor Ragnarok, in like the Korg sense. He wouldn't turn into someone.
My name's Korg?
He wouldn't turn into someone made of stone. He would just turn into stone. He couldn't move. He wasn't conscious. He was just stone.
Sounds like a pretty good way to turtle up and protect yourself.
You could turtle up, but like that's it. Like it's not really like a good offensive
Sometimes the best
capability.
offense is a solid defense.
Maybe, but I doubt it.
Okay.
But he's a sub. He's a substitute hero.
Okay.
Again, power not quite good enough for the actual Legion. Although I do think eventually a lot of those subs get full Legion membership.
Okay, well here's one for you. A super bad guy attacks him, right?
Right.
They're on a mountainside.
Sure.
Boom, turns into a stone, rolls down the hill, crushes the fuck out of the bad guy. Instant superhero.
But here's the question. Is he an indestructible stone, or as he's rolling down the mountain, are bits of him like chipping off if the mountain is made of harder stone than he is?
Why does it matter?
And then he gets to the bottom and doesn't, and turns back, and he's missing. He's like
just
oh Jesus, why?
Well, he wouldn't be dead. He'd be an amputee.
Or just have like chunks missing. Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
I don't know.
I still think it's a bad power.
All right, fair enough.
I'm made of rocks. You don't need to be afraid unless you're made of scissors.
Just a little rock paper scissors joke.
Yeah,
that is a good movie.
You know what game I miss a lot is what was that one that we were going to play last week with Ukrainian Popeye? Something lemon fish. Potato lemon fish.
that sounds like a ridiculous.
God, that was a good one.
I don't know who
You left the room.
You left the
didn't
room
have to
and you
deal
missed
with
out
it.
on a good one.
It wasn't good.
We were
I
going to
really got to figure out this stomach problems.
We've got terrible security here.
Yeah.
People just keep wandering in.
Off the streets.
Yeah. So at any rate, Paul's right. The Legion and the Legion of Subs are full of characters with kind of bad, useless powers. Some of them eventually prove their worth or are useful in very particular circumstances, but just as a thing to like live with, I would hate to be like Infectious Lass, or I'd hate to be. I mean, it's okay to just live as Color Kid. You're just not useful as a superhero. But to live as Infectious Lass, where everyone around you is constantly like getting like life-threatening diseases, like that's pretty bad.
No, yeah, not a great, not great at parties.
No.
Even Jesus isn't friends with that guy. Or that gal, I suppose.
Yeah.
So Leanne has a question. She goes, "Hi, Doc. In your opinion, what is the worst or the most useless superpower?"
Interesting. Because this question doesn't necessarily require specific DC knowledge, why don't we start by flipping it around? Is there a superpower that you can think of, Colin, that you think would be useless? Like, I mean, obviously we could make up things that are super useless, but when you think of like sort of the standard like sort of array of superpowers, is there one of those sort of general ones that you think is useless, like it wouldn't be any good? So strength or
I feel like Richard has one
invisibility
locked
or
and loaded right now. So I'm going to take a second to think about mine.
Okay.
Okay.
You say yours.
I'm gonna say flight.
Flight. Yeah. Flight seems like a really useless superpower.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that was the one that I was going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, why-
You want to explain it then?
Well, yeah, it's like there's planes, like that's already a thing. There's hang gliders. Like who
Yeah.
needs to fly?
so why flight?
So for me, I think flight's useless. The one thing that always kind of comes up in my brain every time I think about the flight power, because it's one of my favorite games to play with my wife, the ones that I can talk about on air, is like we talk about what powers you want, and then I initially used to say flight, and then I realized like at a certain point, like when you actually get to a point where you want to fly a certain, it's so cold and like.
Sure.
There's no way that you could physically like be high enough to like go over a building because it would be so windy and so cold. Like there's no way that you would have to dress in so many layers just to do it. And it takes so long to get anywhere. Like unless you have like super speed as well as flight. Because like how
Right.
fast are you
You'd
even
be
going?
even colder than if you're going that fast.
Well,
And yeah, exactly.
But this is a good point, is that like
Or
flight.
hold on. If you're going faster, is there air? Like, is there friction with the air, and that creates its own heat?
No, I don't think so.
Well, think about it.
It depends how fast you're going.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You're right, though. Flight is only ever paired with other things. Flight on its own.
It's just like, oh, look, I'm a little higher.
Yeah, or like you said, if you don't have super speed, like do you just fly as fast as you can walk? Like does it
That's
still
what I
take
mean.
you forever to
like,
get from like New York to LA?
Because it doesn't say you've got super speed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I can fly. But it's just like, me, yeah, but like...
How fast, though?
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I took the elevator and I beat you. So I don't know. Like, I don't know if that was super helpful. And, you're outside and you can't get in. There's no door there.
I guess it also depends on the manner in which...
You're super trying to break through the window.
Yeah, exactly.
It also depends on the manner in which you're flying. Do you have to flap?
That's what I mean. And that's ridiculous. Like, do you have wings? Now you've got giant wings you have to deal with.
Yeah, if you have like
Where do you store those?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it doesn't
Do you have
seem
a
like...
backpack for those?
Yeah, put your
briefcase? I don't think so.
I don't think a wings are going to fit in a briefcase.
I don't think so.
Not ones that's going to propel you into the sky.
Probably not.
It seems not.
Do you know what's funny about like this idea is that like years ago with a group of friends, like when you just have like the random sort of, you're just sitting around and saying like what would be like a useless or lame like thing, and we all basically settled on the idea that you'd have a superpower but you wouldn't have like the resistance to your own power. So basically like what you're talking about, if you were flying you'd get cold or whatever, or you couldn't move fast. And the one that I picked was super speed but no endurance. So you like show up out of the blue and then just puke behind a dumpster like oh god. Yeah, you just be winded for like a month.
So the Flash has asthma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Halfway through he's like, oh, just hold on a second.
Okay. Let's maybe imagine that it won't like actively like hurt you, but I think even in the case of flight, you can maybe rule out that you have strength or speed or things like that. So maybe flight's not a good one. Let's imagine not quite to the extreme of like super speed with no endurance, but is there a superpower, a different one instead of tagging onto Richards that you think would be useless, Colin?
Talking to fish?
I will straight up kill you. You really know where to hit me where it hurts.
I was really going for right for the heart.
Oh god!
I
Defend that one, Doc.
Oh. I look at a lot of the superhero films on both Marvel and DC.
Or do you look at them with your eyes?
He just looks at the cases.
There's a lot of casework to go through. I've been talking with Todd lately, and he's been informing
Detective
me.
DC's on the case.
I look at two guys in particular that their like essential superpower is just being filthy rich.
Sure, you're thinking of Iron Man and Batman.
Yeah,
right.
And in order for you to have incredible wealth as your quote unquote superpower, because really like that's what their superpower is having an insane amount of access to wealth.
Right.
You would also have to have an enormous amount you'd have to be incredibly humble, I think, to have that as your superpower, because without it, you could become a dangerous villain without a second thought.
Well, it's funny that you say that because neither of those characters are known for their humility.
No.
Batman is dangerous because of it. He makes all those contingency plans to take out his friends, and occasionally they get stolen. Or in the case of DC Metal, when you're being invaded by like alternate versions of someone that brilliant and rich.
So the reason why I think that incredible wealth as a superpower is the most useless is because it's
stretching the definition of superpower, but
okay, yeah. Well, but it's still a part of like they're still quote unquote superheroes.
I guess, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
So that would be their power,
sure,
right? Because it is an individual thing to them. They do have access to it, and but I think that based on the fact that neither of them is gifted with humility at any level,
right?
Until they are terribly, terribly upended by their lack of humility, that's why it is a useless superpower.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it always, without fail, leads to them making some asinine decision to like save the day by sacrificing themselves without really having the foresight to see what will come of that after that moment of impact.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I think I just don't like invisibility. Again, unless it's paired with something else, Martian Manhunter can go invisible, but then he can also like phase through walls and he's super strong and stuff like that. But if all you can do is go invisible, it's likely that doesn't apply to your clothes. So now you got to get naked every single time you want to use your power. Now, and then what do you do if you still can't pick a lock or you're not strong enough to like, you know, break open the vault? Like you're just there naked in a bank. Like there's no, it's not helpful.
Ah, shit! I left my pick kit in my pocket.
You know what I mean? Well, yeah. Where do you
then
leave
you're
it?
carrying around a pick kit and it's just floating through the air.
Even if you stuck it like between your cheeks, it'd just be like the pick kit, just like hovering through. Yeah, I think invisibility to me, like flight, unless it's paired with something else, that is a power that is helping nobody. There's very limited like uses for only that power.
I was thinking about something today, actually.
Okay.
In terms of like clothing and superheroes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How like Superman has to always have like his uniform or his costume underneath his like day-to-day clothes. Yeah. That's got like summertime must be a fucking nightmare.
It's just sweltering.
He's like, oh, I'd like to just take off my nope, can't do that. No, I'm just gonna.
That's Kryptonian cotton. It doesn't even let air through.
So that's not gonna be very.
It doesn't breathe.
No.
It's basically wearing a latex glove.
Oh, God. What happens when he's like if he forgets it at the dry cleaners?
I don't think he's getting it dry cleaned.
Oh my God.
I think we've talked about this before.
People not know how.
I feel like he must have some sort of Kryptonian laundry machine at the Fortress of Solitude. There must be some way to actually launder that thing, but
it's gonna smell so bad, though.
Probably.
Oh, God.
Unless he has that special alien laundry machine.
So gross.
Would kryptonite be a fabric softener then? Moving on.
Can you touch that?
No, he can't. He'd have to get Lois to do it.
Yeah.
And then she wouldn't like that. She'd be like, I'm a journalist. And he'd be like, it's literally because I can't touch the detergent. I'm not trying to be a misogynist. I just
do
can't.
the laundry. It'll literally kill me.
I literally cannot do this.
Oh, God, you just won't shut up. Speaking of softeners, jeez.
Ba-dum-dum.
Yikes.
That was a sex joke. So we're going to go over to Reddit, where there are usually tons of sex jokes.
And everybody's nice and no one's ever mean.
No, everyone's nice and nothing is awful.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I was just trying to get you to say it.
So, Wohali, arm fall off boy.
So, I don't know if you remember the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
The thing that you said is a quote from Arm Fall Off Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks.
Arm Fall Off Boy did not show up in the original run of the Legion of Superheroes, but there was a later retcon in an issue of Secret Origins where it showed like the Legion forming, and Arm Fall Off Boy,
Speaking of legions.
he, he shows up to try out for the Legion. Picture this like it's part of like a montage. It's part of like in Mystery Men where all like the shitty ones come and audition.
Oh, yeah.
He shows up and he says, yeah, observe. And his power is that he can remove his limbs and then use them as weapons. And the Legion goes, no, thank you. they actually, I think their actual response is like, we wish you luck finding a team that suits your talents or something like that.
I'm invisible. Turn around. You can't look.
So basically, Arm Fall Off Boy was retconned in as the first reject of the Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, that poor SOB.
Yeah. He, for a brief time, changed his name to Splitter.
That's pretty badass.
But he's Arm Fall Off Boy.
AFOB. Adam Absence says dog welder.
Yeah.
Is it a dog that is a welder, or is it a guy who welds dogs together?
Oh, no.
It's the second one. But he doesn't weld dogs together, and the dogs are already dead.
Oh, well, okay.
Well, that makes it worse.
He killed them first, but...
Dog Welder is a member of this obscure team called Section 8, which
spooky.
I think Section 8, in terms of the military, refers to like the I'm not going to think of like the it's like a psych ward or something like that. Like if you get put to Section 8, it's because they have to like treat you psychologically or something like that. So all of these characters are kind of like off their hinges a little bit. Dog Welder has this compulsion to weld dogs to people.
Oh my God.
And Dog Welder weirdly has a lot of power. I think it's implied that he actually gets his power from the Egyptian god Anubis. Like,
what?
And there are previous dog welders whose like consciousness he
Seriously?
can channel. And basically, at one point, these two stars in a different star system were going to collide, and the explosion was going to destroy the Earth. The star system was the Cygnus star system, and Cygnus is the dog constellation.
Okay.
Dog welder manages to hitch a ride on a spaceship, and he manages to weld the suns together to save the day. But it sacrifices his own life. Yeah.
That's crazier than the human street. Like,
yeah, dog welder is straight up crazy.
that's
Human Street's
Here's the other. I didn't talk about his other power. He can't just speak like normally. He can communicate.
He can't turn left.
Yeah.
He can communicate through
I'm an ambi-turner.
through dead dogs.
Like he works them like puppets.
This is straight bonkers.
Yeah,
Who the fuck wrote this guy?
dog welder is a very very.
That's hot
weird
nuts.
character.
That's what that is.
This has got Morrison
There are-
all over us.
There are other characters in that Section 8 group though who are equally like bizarre. There was a guy called the Defenestrator who just carried a window around and then he could put people through it.
What the fuck?
There's Bueno Excelente, who was he was literally just a sex offender. That was it.
What? His name literally means good, excellent.
And he would only speak it with using either the word Bueno Excelente, like a Pokemon, but he was a sex offender. There's a character called Six-Pack, who Six-Pack may or may not have reality-altering abilities, but he's just constantly drunk.
Hey, I think I'm related to that guy.
But Dog Welder arguably probably has the most power of any of those Section 8ers. But yeah, he's that's a weird
straight
one.
up bonkers.
Yeah.
Six-Pack and Two-Pack are cousins.
Have you ever heard the Canadian version?
Six-Pack Shakur.
No, it's God damn it, you ruined it. It's Six-Pack for sure. It's a Canadian. It's the Canadian Tupac.
Six-Pack for sure.
I love that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've never heard that joke.
That's good.
I like that you tried to jump it, though.
Well, you know.
You're gonna jump my gun.
You guys aren't the only ones that can interrupt someone's train of thought.
I don't know what you're talking about. The tall person asks, would it be fair to say Doomsday? That guy has no personality, a weird design, and only exists to kill Superman.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point to bring up. Doomsday is a very, one-dimensional
I feel like this
character.
guy's trying to get some hate on Reddit.
A lot of people don't really love Doomsday as a character because, yeah, I mean, he's literally just like a brute force killing machine. He doesn't have like a tragic backstory. He wasn't like a scientist that got turned into Doomsday. He's just like a monster that gets stronger every time. And every time you kill him, he can't be killed that way again. Like, there's not a ton to Doomsday. So, I mean, in a way, you could say that qualifies as kind of lame or poor or bad. But Doomsday has notoriety. He is the character that killed Superman. He's kind of iconic that way. And he has a bit of a history as like a failed like Kryptonian science experiment. I mean, there's more to him than there is to something like Tar Pit or like Dog Welder or characters like that. But I mean, I think you could make the argument that out of Superman's sort of rogues gallery, Doomsday is, I mean, he might as well just be like pick like a crazy natural event. Like imagine Superman couldn't just punch a comet. Doomsday might as well just be a comet. It's just a thing that's a brute force that has to be stopped. The only difference is that Doomsday exclusively goes after Superman, basically. And so the thing I think that makes Doomsday maybe interesting is that unlike other natural destructive forces, Superman then becomes the danger for civilians. Because Doomsday will come after him and won't care if he's going through a building or taking out a school bus or whatever. So wherever Superman is, he's immediately putting everyone around him in danger. Not in the same way that like a smart supervillain would like go after the person Superman loves. It's literally just by physical proximity.
It's just all collateral damage.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think I would argue that Doomsday is maybe a little more interesting than the tall person is giving him credit for, or a little more interesting, at least as a story device, if not as a character. But yeah, I mean, you could probably make that argument.
LOL Primetime says Black Spider.
Black Spider is his name is Eric Needham, and basically he was like a drug addict.
Yes, we don't.
He was like a drug addict who gets clean and then decides he's going to go after drug dealers. But he's like a murderous assassin vigilante.
But then he gets some smack for free and he forgets all about his great plan.
He's just kind of a C-lister, though. He ends up butting heads with Batman a few times because Batman doesn't want someone just killing in his city and things like that, even if it's drug dealers. But Black Spider is like... I think this literally happened in Assault on Arkham, which is a Suicide Squad animated movie. He's just a character you throw in there so you have someone to kill. Kind of like Slipknot, the man who can climb anything. Black Spider, to me, beyond... He had a brief bit where he had a bit of a family, like a wife and a son, and he was trying to do right. There's an element that could be interesting. It's almost like an El Diablo thing, where he's like trying to leave a bad past behind and do good. But then his family got killed, and then I think in most incarnations, they don't really, like, give him too much to work with. He's just like a guy killing drug dealers. So maybe it's not that he doesn't inherently have something to offer, but no one's really given him too much to do. So he just becomes kind of boring, and you throw him in when you're making, like, a big panel and you want to show that a bunch of villains are at a meeting. And you go like, oh, is that Black Spider in the back? You're like, oh, Black Spider. Like, oh, Monocle. Or like, oh, shit, that's like Matter Master. You just see like these kind of weird ones in the back. But yeah, for the most part, he's not really notable.
So let's move on then. Yudaki Kani says Terry Long, who was just Marv Wolfman's self-insert character, created just so he could marry Donna Troy and Hemogoblin, created to give AIDS to the new Guardians.
Okay, so one at a time.
Oof.
So Terry Long is, basically Marv Wolfman made a character that looks a little like Marv Wolfman and put him in the comics and had him marry Donna Troy, who's Wonder Girl, so a member of the Titans, Wonder Woman's former sidekick. And they have a son together named Robert. And he's in there. They get divorced eventually because he thinks that Donna Troy is too much a danger to their family because she's a superhero and like she's got powers and things, invariably will go wrong.
And you're a nobody, Terry Long. You're a goddamn nobody.
But really, like Terry Long, he didn't have powers. He wasn't like running the team. He wasn't doing anything particular. He was just there, and he married Donna Troy. But eventually, Terry and Robert are both killed, I think in a car accident.
Ugh.
Yeah. I think they've been completely erased from continuity, though. Like, I don't think that's been canon for quite a long time now.
Someone will bring it up in a story, and Donna Troy will be like, I don't know what you're talking about. We should move on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's funny you say that. There is a Wonder Woman story that's kind of like that, and it got poked fun of in a series called Sugar and Spike, where there's one comic from like decades and decades and decades ago where Wonder Woman was sort of like coerced into marriage with like a Frankenstein's monster type thing. And then in this thing where they poked fun at it, some pictures of it were leaking, and she hired these people to like find them and destroy the pictures. She was like, I don't want anyone to know that this happened.
No, she didn't want to know that she had a family that died.
Well, no, that's different.
Oh, okay.
But I was talking about Wonder Woman for that marriage.
We should move on to the AIDS.
Oh, God.
Everybody likes those.
No. So
we have one in the middle of the show. I don't understand.
That's an ad.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was a great ad.
Hemogoblin, which is, of course, like a play on the word hemoglobin. Hemogoblin is like
that's what that was.
Hemogoblin is like a vampire who literally would infect people with the HIV virus. That's Jesus. Like what he did.
Streets filled up.
If you can imagine,
we're all monsters for having just laughed at that. By the way,
if you can imagine that this is a character that maybe didn't age well.
Great Bruce Springsteen.
Hemogoblin did not show up very much, but yeah, he eventually himself died of AIDS. but basically what he was a vampire who was infecting people with HIV, and that's it. That was his like sole purpose for existing in comics.
Are you sure he did? How sure are you?
I'm not doing it.
Are you positive?
I'm not doing it.
Are you HIV positive?
I'm not doing it.
I love that you just like walked through that whole joke all on your own.
It's coming out one way or another.
Yes.
Like I say to my wife,
nothing's funniure than forcing a joke.
That's right. That's what makes it funnier when you explain.
But yeah, the Hemogoblin basically only existed to do that. You can imagine a writer maybe trying to make some sort of point about the AIDS epidemic. But
is he a goblin or is he a vampire?
He's called the Hemogoblin. He is a vampire, but he looks goblin-esque. Like he's got sort of like a Nosferatu kind of like look to him. But yeah, that's not a character that aged well at all.
Why wouldn't his name be Hemogoblincula?
Great,
nice.
DC
good.
Execs.
We know you desperately
we know you've already murdered this character, but we'd like to bring him back. A reunion tour.
Let's not. Let's not.
Say we did.
But yeah, so yeah, that's another one of those kind of obscure, kind of one or two off characters that's not really important. But yeah, it's probably from an era where they wanted to make some sort of political point, but I can imagine they didn't do it very well.
That era was called the 80s.
Well, late 80s, I think, is when they were doing that. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you...
Oh, you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't ask about one final character.
Oh, okay.
Can you talk a little bit about Friendly Fire?
Are you looking up Section 8?
No. It's just like I remember like looking it up like earlier today, and I gotta know what the hell this character's deal is.
Okay. This is a deep pull even for me. Yeah, so Friendly Fire was a member of Section 8. His power is basically like some form of like energy projection, like shooting energy, but he is like 100% not able to intentionally hit a target. In a way, I hate constantly doing like Marvel comparisons, but in a way it makes me think of like Havoc, who is like the father of Cyclops or something like that. But he had like a similar power, but he couldn't like aim it basically. But yeah, so Friendly Fire can sort of shoot these sort of devastating energy blasts, but can't like aim them. He tries to hit you, he won't. So it's likely that he'll do as much damage to his own allies as he would to anyone that he's attacking.
That's amazing.
I mean, in a way, you would think maybe the strategy would be to continually try to hit your own friends, and then you'll miss them, and then like go for it. You'd think there might be a way to like make that actually useful, but yeah, Friendly Fire is another one of those Section 8 members. There's a few other ones that I'm not going to think of like who they are, but yeah, it's like Six-Pack, Dog Welder, Friendly Fire, the Defenestrator, Bueno Excelente.
I'm kind of obsessed with Dog Welder now. I'm just gonna tell you.
Well, if you want to read that, there are 2 series that came out in the last like 3 years or 4 years that feature Dog Welder. The one is called All-Star Section 8. I think it's an 8-issue miniseries, and that features the whole team. And then there's another one called Six-Pack and Dog Welder, Hard Traveling Heroes.
Well, of course.
And that was a 6-issue miniseries, I think. But both of those heavily feature the Dog Welder.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I love this very, very much. Well, I think we did it.
And we are out of time. Thankfully.
So, I don't know if you remember that 5-star review we got at the beginning with that review.
That review is pretty good.
It was pretty good. If you guys want to send one of those, we would love to hear them. And now that we can actually access our American reviews on iTunes.
Yeah, now that we know where they're living.
Yeah, now we can actually start reading them. So if you want to have your review read on the actual episode, you can go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. And, leave us something nice. Maybe do a What Colin Does at the beginning. No one's done that in a very long time. I don't even know if it's relevant any longer. And
don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, of course, on iTunes and Google Play.
Yeah, I said the review part, so you can just say rate and subscribe.
Okay,
so.
Cool. I said Google Play. Are we on Google Play?
Yeah, we're on Google Play.
Yeah, I don't use it, so I have no idea, but I've heard we are.
Don't forget to send us your incredible questions on Facebook at,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Twitter at
Dr. DC.
email at,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
like all of our photos on Instagram at.
Dr. DC Podcast.
Don't forget to check out our website, which is
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
Look at that. I think we got them all, didn't we?
That's it.
All right, well, some kind of sign off.
Adios.
Shit. Oh, my name's Gorgon. Goodbye.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure.